Welcome everyone again to Train Tuesday. I am your host, Jim Wiegel with Athearn Trains, and so glad that you have found us. If you are seeing us for the first time and you like the content that you're seeing, please do us a favor, like and subscribe to the channel, and like this video, comment on this video, and keep in mind we do watch those comments and I try to answer them as many as possible. Now, today we're going to be talking about the Athearn Genesis GP39-2 locomotive with some new tooling features, including lit number boards and, where applicable, lit classification lights. We've also got some other surprises that is going to allow us to offer roads that we haven't offered in the past. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on Train Tuesday, the GP39-2s by Athearn Genesis. In the decade between 1974 and 1984, EMD produced the GP39-2 for 7 North American railroads. Now, the basic design followed most 4-axle road diesel switchers for the time, borrowing improvements from the GP38-2 and GP40-2 designs. This mid-horsepower road switcher utilized a turbocharged 12-cylinder EMD 645E3 diesel engine as its prime mover. Now, with 4 fewer cylinders, the smaller engine provided a distinctive long hood on the Phase 2 and Phase 3 bodies, where the clean room engine compartment doors were set back from the cab further than previous locomotives. Sensitivity to fuel economy in the 1970s justified the GP39-2 in the locomotive market. It also laid the groundwork for EMD to start exploring locomotive designs that utilize engines with larger piston displacement yet possess fewer cylinders. This approach has become the foundation to modern locomotive technology. Now, the locomotive that you see on your screen here, this model here, is from a previous release. This is a former Reading locomotive. It's been patched for its current owner, CSX, number 4316. Now, as mentioned, this is from a previous run. However, you may still find this at some of Athearn dealers, and if it's one that you'd like to add to your fleet, the item number for this model is ATHG 65638. Again, the model number is ATHG 65638. Now let's talk about the roads that we're going to be offering for the month of September. You have until Friday, September 27th to place your pre-orders, and happy to announce we're going to be offering roads that we haven't done before thanks to new tooling. Let's start right into it with the Santa Fe. Now, as a long-time and loyal EMD customer, Santa Fe was one of the largest purchasers of the GP39-2 model. Using that 12-cylinder 645 power plant and a turbocharger, the GP39-2 produced 2,300 horsepower compared to its GP40-2 cousin at 3,000 horsepower. And that one was using a 16-cylinder engine. Now, originally purchased for hot shot freight trains, they quickly became favorite power for locals and road switchers. These are going to be models based on that 1975 order from EMD, so they're what I like to call factory fresh 1975 era locomotives. We've got 3 different road numbers that we're going to offer for you, including 3621, 3640, and 3655. Now, since these are Athearn Genesis, they're going to have Athearn Genesis prototype specific details and features. These are going to have the early Phase 1 body. They're going to have the switcher style walkway steps, rear mounted fuel tank, Leslie 3-chime horn, large front anti-climber, small EMD front plow, and a strato cab beacon, which will work if you get the Tsunami 2 equipped versions. Next is the DNH. Now, Delaware and Hudson purchased 20 new GP39-2s from EMD in 1976. Now, unlike the former Reading DNH 7400 class, which we did offer in the past, these are a little bit different. Some of the details were updated. The DNH 7601 through 7620 class featured unique and redesigned stepwells with switcher-style steps. The fuel tank was pushed back to the rearward position, and the fuel fillers and sight gauges were repositioned. Now, I do want to note that this is early artwork and does not necessarily depict the features that we're talking about. We will update that artwork so that the finished product matches what we're showing. So be on the lookout for that. As soon as we get those updated artwork images, we'll add those to our website as well as social media. Now, after the lease expired on these units, they were picked up by Union Pacific. And what's really cool is they retained their class lights, but they also had the addition of front ditch lights. But we'll talk about that more in a moment. Now, we're offering three different road numbers for the Delaware and Hudson as they appeared in 1976: 7603, 7617, and 7620. Now, these are going to feature the newly tooled D&H style walkway and fuel tank. We've never offered that before. So not only can we offer the GP39-2s in this style in the D&H, but we're going to also offer some other roads, and we'll talk about those in a minute. These are going to all have the early phase one body, the Leslie 3-chime horn, the small EMD front plow, and large Sinclair antenna. So where did those locomotives for the D&H end up going? Well, they went to the Union Pacific, of course. We're now going into the late 90s. It was during the late 90s that UP was looking for reliable 4-axle road switchers to add to their fleet. They picked up a batch of former D&H 7601 class GP39-2s, keeping those D&H spotting features with the added front ditch lights. They would eventually be sold off by the mid-2010s for further use. Now, if you're a model of the 1990s era Union Pacific, and you want something that's really unique that's going to stand out in your Union Pacific fleet, these are definitely going to stand out. Remember, the classification lights were never removed. D&H kept those for years, and Union Pacific, even though they put them in their corporate paint scheme, they could be seen throughout their system with the classification lights still intact, but with the addition of ditch lights. Now, we're offering three different road numbers for this particular run: 2733, 2736, and 2738. Now, again, these are late 1990s, so there's been some updates and some details on these, including you're still going to have the D&H style walkway and fuel tank. You're still going to have the early phase one body, but now you've got the front tall ditch lights. You've also got a Nathan 5-chime horn, small EMD front plow, and large Sinclair antenna. Now, if you go with the Tsunami 2 versions, a lot of people ask, are the classification lights going to be lit or not? Again, that is dependent on the prototype. In this case, Union Pacific would not have used those classification lights, even though they still look like they're there. The classification light lens is still there. So the Tsunami 2 equipped versions, it's likely they will not have lit number boards like the D&H ones earlier. They will, of course, have lit number boards. Moving along to another large Class 1 railway and a little bit more modern, we're going to be talking everywhere from 2018 to 2021. We've got the BNSF. Now, in 1981, Burlington Northern ordered 40 late versions of the 39-2 from EMD. BNSF inherited both Burlington Northern as well as Santa Fe Active Motor Power right after the merger in 1995. And many of the BN painted units lasted quite a while in their original paint. By the late 2010s, however, BNSF started to repaint many of their former BN fleet of 39-2s into the current corporate colors. A few were retrofitted for remote service. We're going to actually offer one of those, and they can be seen operating in yards and local service. The first one that you see on your screen is GP39-2 BNSF 2727. This is how it appeared in 2021. This will have a low nose front headlight, strobe beacon, which will work with the Tsunami 2 equipped versions. And what's really cool about this, the modular applied remote antenna equipment will be included in a poly bag in the box. So if you want one of these remote operated locomotives for some yard work service and you're modeling current day, this is the perfect locomotive for you. We're also going to offer 2732, which is a 2018 version. This one has a cab headlight. And then likewise, 2735 is a 2019 era locomotive. It too has a cab headlight. However, the addition of skate-style cab antennas can also be seen. Further spotting features on these are going to have the phase 2 body, so they have the corrugated grills and the Q fans. Of course, all three that we're offering, these are former Burlington Northern units. Removed class lights. That's pretty common nowadays when these things get shopped. They will cover those up. Sometimes they're very simple, sometimes they're rather well done, but this one will not have class lights. They will also have large exhaust stacks, nose electronic brakes, front and rear ditch lights, electronic bell, and those road number specific details we talked about previously. Now let's talk a little bit about some short line operations. We're going to start with the 2016 era Blue Ridge Southern. Now, Web Asset Management is part of the Watco Holdings based out of Pittsburgh, Kansas. Blue Ridge Southern is a subsidiary and operates approximately 91 miles of former Norfolk Southern trackage in western North Carolina. Now, these are painted in the Web Asset Management black and yellow scheme with a round, colorful logo that adorns both sides of the locomotives. Really cool, eye-catching logo. And we're going to offer two road numbers of these units, 3932 and 3945. Now, since these are Genesis, and since this is 2016 for these particular locomotives, they're going to have some subtle changes. Starting with 3932, there'll be no yellow pilot stripes, and it will only have a front plow. Looking at 3945, there will be yellow stripes on the pilot, and this one will have plows on both ends. Further features, since these, you can probably figure out their lineage, they're going to have the newly revised tooling of the D&H style walkway and fuel tank. They're also going to have the early phase 1 body, front and rear ditch lights, Nathan 3-chime horn, small EMD front plow, and of course, roof AC. Now, this next one is bound to be a favorite with most of you, and that is the Wisconsin Southern. We're doing two schemes here, one really eye-catching paint scheme. And Wisconsin Southern acquired two former D&H GP39-2s from Web Asset Management, and they painted them in their attractive bright red and gray scheme. They are often mixed with other power. Now, 3928 sports the 35th anniversary scheme, and of course, 3947 is in its standard scheme. So both of these road numbers would make a great addition to your railroad roster. So we're going to be offering 3928 again with that really eye-catching 35th anniversary scheme, as well as 3947, which is in the standard scheme. But what's really cool about this, if you look carefully, it has a non-standard number board font that's different from the rest. Now, these are from 2016 to 2017 era. It can be perfectly used on your modern HO scale layout. Further features on these locomotives is, of course, since they're former D&H, they're going to have that revised and new tooled style walkway and fuel tank. They're going to have early phase 1 bodies and the removed class lights, because by now those were long gone. They're not used anymore. Front and rear ditch lights, Nathan 3-chime horn, UP style front plow, and roof AC. Now let's talk about some of the other features of the GP39-2. And of course, since these are Athearn Genesis, you're going to have standard features like coupler cut levers, train line and MU hoses, drop steps, unless noted. Again, that's an era-specific detail, as well as a road-specific detail. Nub-style walkway tread, windshield wipers, lift rings, wire grab irons, walkway tread, sanding lines, and new for this run, they will all include lit number boards and lit class lights if equipped. Now, I do want to take a moment, because there has been some confusion on our lit classification lights in the past. It's important to realize that since these are Genesis locomotives, they are modeled after the actual prototype. So in cases like the Santa Fe and the D&H units, they will have the Tsunami 2 equipped versions will have lit operating classification lights. Older units, or I should say newer units, such as the 1990s era Union Pacific, BNSF, and the 2000 on up, and some of the other short lines will not have functioning classification lights. Even if the classification lights are there, doesn't mean they're going to be lit. It's going to be based on the actual prototype. Some of these locomotives will actually have lit signal lights and or beacons if equipped. Of course, the Santa Fe and the BNSF have that, and that is a feature of the Tsunami 2 equipped versions. The bell placement, that is based on the prototype, detailed fuel tank with fuel fillers, fuel gauges, and breather pipes. Speed recorder, unless otherwise noted, see-through cab windows and full cab interior. Fine scale Celcon handrails for a much better scale appearance, and of course etched metal fans. Now this is just a small selection of the details that are included with the Athearn Genesis GP39-2. For further details and to take a deeper dive into the details of both sound and non-sound equipped locomotives, please go to athearn.com and select the new announcements tab. Also, we've got links for this locomotive as well as links to the PDF announcement in the video description below. So there you have it. This is an exciting locomotive, perfect for you guys that are looking for some 4-axle locomotives to add to your roster. We've tried to add both factory fresh as well as some older units that have seen many different railroads over its course of time. So it doesn't matter if you're modeling the 1970s into current day, we've probably got a model there for you. Now keep in mind, you have until Friday, September 27th, to place your pre-orders with your Athearn dealer. Now remember, we sent out about a week or two ago an announcement on how we're doing pre-orders. We're tightening up the orders with our factory, which means unless you pre-order, you have a really strong chance that you might not get the model that you're looking for. So we strongly suggest that you pre-order with the Athearn dealer of your choice. That way you know you're going to get your model when they come in. Well, that is all I've got for you on this Train Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed this program. Please give us a like and comment in the video here. We'll get back to you. And once again, I want to remind you, October 1st, we'll be going back to the live format, and that'll give you a chance to ask questions with the Athearn crew. Until next time, I hope everybody out there is happy and healthy. Do some good modeling, and above all, high greens. Take care, everyone.